Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We're looking at our budget interesting commanders. 10. Oh my gosh, 10 already? Black color identity this time. These videos are meant to give ideas for good commanders that are available on a budget, right? This is really all the videos are about. I am focusing on commanders that use niche mechanics and are highly abusable. So what I want is budget, interesting mechanics. These are the two main things. I have one on this list that I'm like, I would not build it, but I think it is interesting mechanically, and yeah, anyway. This video features commanders with the black color identity, not necessarily mono black, right? So we're talking black color identity, not mono black. This is not a mono black video, this is just black color identity. I feel like someone's going to get angry at me about that. I am going to, yeah, there you go. So what does budget mean? So budget can mean a lot of different things. We are saying $2 or less, right? When I say budget, I mean $2 or less, and I'm using the TCG market value. They are not a sponsor. No. Number 5. Vishgraz the Doom Hive. I said it. I feel I'm kind of proud of myself. But anyway, it is 2 white, a black, and a green for Menace Toxic 1. Again, having Toxic 1 is nice. When Vishgraz the Doom Hive enters the battlefield, create 3 1/1 Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. He gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. I guess maybe she, if it's an insect making other insects, but whatever. So this is all about poison. I feel like Infect is maybe the most black strategy. I'm sure people will disagree with me, but to me it is anyway. Yeah, this kind of becomes a Voltron commander at a certain point. If your opponents have enough poison counters, you've got almost, like, you might want to throw like something in there that gives you double strike, but yeah. What I'm focusing on here is the Infect for my list. Anyway, 36 cents. Infectious Inquiry. So you draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and each opponent gets a poison counter. This is such a good card. I mean, even for 2 black, draw 2 cards is not bad for black. For blue, it's terrible. For black, it's not bad. But anyway. And each opponent getting a poison counter just automatically, right? You don't have to attack, you don't have to do combat damage, you don't have to blah 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 blah. Instead, you just like, here you go. And then, especially with proliferate strategies, that's just like do that and then proliferate 9 times and you win. Game over, right? Anyway, 16 cents. Necrogen Rot Priest. So this is 2 green and a black, or a Golgari. Whenever a creature you control deals toxic damage to a player, that player gets an additional poison counter. Okay, so yeah, they get anything where it's like Infect or, oh wait, it does have to be combat damage, right? So Infect or Toxic, you're able to just like add another 1 on top. So Toxic 2 essentially becomes Toxic 3. Any kind of Infect damage is doing 1 more Infect. It really stacks things up very quickly. Even, yeah, Infectious Inquiry would not help because that's not combat damage, right? Target creature you control with Toxic gains Death Touch until end of turn for 1, a black, and a green. So you can give anything Death Touch. This is very good for getting your attacks through, right? If people see like, oh, you're going to start killing blockers with Death Touch, then they're going to be really, it makes their decision making a lot harder, I think is what I would look for. And Excel, Scion of Atraxa, Flying Vigilance Toxic 2. Oh, sorry, the Necrogen Priest is 7 cents. I think I forgot to say that. Anyway, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters exiles cards from the top of their library face down, or exiles the top card of their library face down. You may look at that and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. So this is like stealing people's cards and kind of card draw, or pseudo card draw. put together with your poison counters, that the synergy is what I really like there. Anyway, 167. Number 4. Tabarak's Hope's Demise. Okay, so this is loosely Clear Kindred. Like, ideally, you're doing a Clear Kindred deck. It's not necessarily, though, right? So let's take a look at that. So he has lifelink as long as it has 5 or more +1/+1 counters on it. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Tabarak's. So again, that doesn't require Cleric, right? If you're doing him as kind of like a Voltron kind of strategy, you don't really need that. If you're focusing on the +1/+1 counters, if you're focusing on lifelink, there are ways to build him without Clerics really being important. But yeah, if that creature was a Cleric, you may draw a card if you do lose 1 life. So extra card draw on top is always great. Also, Clerics are very good at, like, often getting things out of the graveyard. So if you want creatures back out of the graveyard, Clerics do that, and when your Clerics die, you get this, like, extra card draw thing. And he can have lifelink, and it drains life. So it all synergizes very nicely. So I think he's very flexible. Anyway, 35 cents. Shadowrite Priest for 1 and a black. Other Clerics you control get +1/+1. Anthem effects are just so useful, right? Anytime you can get an Anthem effect, I say go for it. For 3 black, sacrifice another Cleric, search your library for a black creature card, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. This, with this commander, doing the Cleric Kindred, this makes it really, like, all fit together very nicely, right? You're sacrificing Clerics just to, like, get anything you want straight into the battlefield. This isn't even to, like, top a deck or to hand. This is straight to the battlefield. That's crazy. I mean, it does cost 5, but even for a tutor and the casting cost of the creature, unless the creature's like 1, you're probably getting a deal there, right? The tutor, a good price for a tutor is still like 2, and then that'd be like 3 mana cost for the creature. You can easily find things that are more than 3 mana cost, right? If anything, I would want to, like, get a little bit of black ramp, I guess, and then untap effect on him. Anyway, 16 cents. Skiersdag, High Priest. I feel like that's very similar to what are the actors' names? Like the guy who played It. Skiersgrad, maybe? But anyway. Tap 2 untap creatures you control. Create a 5/5 black demon token with flying. Activate this only if a creature died this turn. Again, this isn't working off the Cleric thing, this is working off the death thing. Death triggers in this and Clerics, I think, are very, very important. But anyway. Priest of the Forgotten God. Anyway, sorry, 16 cents for that one as well. Priest of the Forgotten Gods. Sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life. And sacrifice a creature. You add 2 black mana and draw a card. This is just like, oh my gosh, yeah. This is like just so much. Remember, if the creature that died is a Cleric, or one of them that died is a Cleric, you're going to also be drawing another card and losing 1 life. So yeah, this just really piles on very nicely, giving you extra mana, extra ramp, and then like also allowing you to like sacrifice things pretty easily to get your card draw and stuff like that. Anyway, 160 for that now. Number 3. Nethroy, Apex of Death. I'm actually going to include a thing talking about kind of like how Mutate works and kind of some of the issues with it. I'm not crazy about Mutate in general. I think it kind of feels like it's a mechanic from a different game that they just tried to shove in, like putting the, you know, the circle peg in the square hole kind of thing. But anyway, okay. Once again, he is 2 white, black, green. I guess it's the second white, black, green one I have on the list. I can't remember what that's called right now. Anyway. Death Touch and Lifelink, which I think is a great combination. Also a 5/5, so not bad for that. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I do like also that it's power. Total power 10 or less. You can get a lot of things that are like 1 or even 0 power that have a lot of functionality and just like throw them straight back into the battlefield over and over and over. Like, it just is very abusable there. Anyway, yeah, focused on the mutate mechanic. Mutate is flawed. I would say that is very fair. You kind of put a whole bunch of creatures into one creature. Like, it's almost like they're enchantments, but they count as like being a single creature. That there's a lot of problems with that. I feel like they didn't really think about the rules when they did this. But anyway, okay. Some people love this mechanic. I'm not hating on it, or I'm not trying to hate on it, but as I said, I will try to put that video, link to that video that kind of goes over some of the like ups and downs, because there are actually some very serious benefits or potential benefits to mutate, and then there are ones that are just like, kind of like you've got a whole stack of creatures and then one removal spell just takes your whole board out. So that's not great. The counter I would say to that is like to exile the creature, and in exile all of them separate into separate cards and then they return to the battlefield. So you can kind of have like one massive creature and then exile it and have like a whole bunch of creatures instead. That could be kind of good, but it's like a lot of extra steps just to do that one thing. And that one thing is like kind of like if you just casted the creatures, you'd have the creature, you know? So is that really doing something? I don't know. Anyway, 27 cents. Alright, so Honest Rustin. Again, 1 black-green. So when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This creature spells cost you 1 less to cast. So this is nice that it is cutting that creature spell cost down. And yeah, getting things out of your graveyard back to your hand, if they have higher power, you might not want to target it with the mutate thing because it's going to eat up a lot, right? If you can get 5/1/1s, you'll probably want those rather than a 5/5. Anyway, Boneyard Lurker for 2 Golgari or a black-green. Whenever this creature mutates, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Again, this is permanent card. It is only 1 permanent card. But yeah, it's not limited to creatures, so that it is kind of nice. Gives you more flexibility with that kind of the main thing your commander is good for. And then whenever this creature mutates, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Okay, sorry, Migratory Greathorn is what that's called, and it's, yeah, basically gives you ramp. Just for mutating, you're going to ramp as well, which is a pretty huge... You're getting things back from your graveyard, you're getting things like... And you're ramping as well. Like, that gets really out of control very quickly. Anyway, Honest Rustin is 37 cents, Boneyard Lurker 7 cents, and Migratory Greathorn is 6 cents. So I think one of the things to consider if you're wanting to build a budget deck is things like this. Like, Mutate is not the most popular mechanic, for a good reason, but if you want to build a really cheap deck that's very powerful, there you go, right? Using Mutate, I think, is a good way to do that. Number 2. Vraska the Silencer. Okay, Death Touch, as you can imagine. And whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay 1. If you do, return to the battlefield, tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact with sacrifice the artifact, add 1 mana of any color, and it loses all other card types. Okay, so this does let you, it keeps its abilities, that's the main thing. If it has like passive abilities or something, or activated abilities even, you still get access to those by stealing the card. So this, depending on what your opponents have, in a game of Commander, I would be shocked if they don't have a whole bunch of stuff, frankly. It's not how Commander works, generally, but yeah. Yeah. I think the secondary kind of great thing about this is that, yeah, the keeping other people's graveyard strategies offline, right? You, instead of them being able to like recur things for the graveyard, you can just make it a treasure token and keep it on your board, and that will kind of shut down a lot of graveyard strategies. They can't keep like bringing things back if it's not in the graveyard, obviously. So yeah. And yeah, it kind of is also what you're doing is, even with the treasure, is converting colorless mana into colored mana, which is pretty useful. Colorless mana is much easier to make in general, so there's going to be a lot of ways for you to abuse that. Anyway, 143. Culling Ritual. This is by far the, like, these two cards work together so well, it's almost crazy. I love this card also, but anyway. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Non-land permanent. Soul Rings? Gone, right? You can pay 1 and steal everyone's Soul Ring. Kinda hilarious. Remember, it does keep its ability, so you, even though it's a treasure, you keep tapping it for 2 colorless mana. Yeah, anyway. Add black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. This is giving you the mana to pay the cost to steal the card. It's blowing the card up, putting it to the graveyard, and giving you what you need to like steal them. So, especially non-land permanent. Oh boy, oh boy. Sereth the Viper Fang. Tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. Other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. Very, very useful, again, because you, whenever you're attacking, just everything automatically has Death Touch, and when you're not attacking, your stuff can't, you know, has Hexproof. So, yeah. Board wipes are still a problem, but not a whole lot else. Okay? And finally, Royal Assassin, a very old one here. Destroy target tapped creature. Any creature tapped at any time, you can just blow up and then steal, right? It won't remain a creature, but you can really, I think, get a lot of functionality out of this. If they use any kind of activated ability where they tap, you can blow it up, steal it, and then it's your activated ability. Anywho, Culling Ritual is 43 cents, Sereth is 29 cents, and Royal Assassin is 61 cents. I keep wanting to buy Royal Assassin, it's always sold out in Korea. Come on! Come on, Kindle Shop. Number 1. Which black color identity commander do you recommend? Yeah, I would love to hear some suggestions. I want to put together like kind of like a viewer's top pick video. I think that would be really interesting. Anyway. My number 1, Saruman of many colors. So again, he has Ward. Ward is flawed as well. A lot of people go to Ward automatically. It still is much better than nothing, right? Especially this one. Ward, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card. So if they don't have an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card, or some way to get around Ward, they just can't even, like, they can't use a removal spell on your commander without, like, also discarding one of those is usually not what people want to do. I think this is enough to just be like, he's the lowest priority because, like, it's too much of a hassle to use a removal spell on him. Anyway, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, each opponent mills 2 cards. Then one of the more cards are milled this way. Sorry, when one or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or lesser value than that spell's mana cost from an opponent's graveyard. Blah blah blah. Copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So if you can get someone to mill, casting 2 in a turn is not hard, and if you just keep doing this, getting someone to mill enchantment, instant, or sorcery, and you just get that. You do need to make sure your second spell is a more costly one, but yeah. Kind of the only limitation there. Yeah. With this commander, what I was thinking is leaning into kind of the mill strategy. I feel like mill is another very black strategy, but anyway, 97 cents. Okay, mill is also very demure, I feel like. Anyway, consuming aberration, its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. In commander, that's crazy. 3 opponents, that's a lot of cards in 3 graveyards. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card, then puts those cards into their graveyard. Oh. So that's a lot of extra mill. And it's every time you cast a spell. So if you're using Saruman's ability, you're casting 2 spells at least. That's milling twice and then milling for his ability. Probably doing a lot of damage there. Duskmantle Guild Mage. Whenever, for 1 a blue and a black. Again, no tapping on this. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere this turn, that player loses 1 life. Okay, so you can kind of add life loss to this as well, and there's many cards that do similar to this, so that's kind of just adding to it. And then target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard for 2 a blue and a black. Not going to be your main strategy, but like if someone's barely like holding on by a sliver, those extra 2 can, I think, do a lot of damage. Also, if they've got some kind of thing where they play with the top card of their deck revealed and they have like a land on top, you know, for consuming aberration, you want to get that out of the way. And then, yeah, you can kind of abuse that as well. Finally, Memory Plunder. You may cast a target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. Any instant or sorcery card for 4 mana, you can steal something that costs, 6, whatever a mana costs. You can just steal it for 4. That's actually very, very cheap for what it's doing. It is dependent on your opponents having things in their graveyard, which is what you're going to be doing with this deck, right? Milling people out means their graveyard has a lot of stuff that you can use and abuse. Anyway, consuming aberration, 61 cents. Duskmantle Guild Mage, 105. Memory Plunder, 91 cents. The list, here we go. Vishgraz the Doom Hive, 36 cents. Taborax Hope's Demise, 35 cents. Nethroi Apex of Death, 27 cents. Vraska the Silencer, $1.43. Saruman of Many Colors, 97 cents. I say this a lot, but he should be more than 97 cents. Anyway, thanks a lot and take it easy.